Hello everyone. In the second session, we have learned about the distinct geographic features of paper cutting and the patterns and themes most frequently seen in paper cutting. As a folk art, paper cutting makes an indispensable part in people's daily life and social customs. We will learn more about this in the third session of this unit, the cultural values of Chinese paper cutting. After completing this session, you will know about how Chinese paper cutting is embodied in the folk customs and how it represents the original Chinese philosophy. Folk customs are the carriers of folk art. As a cultural carrier of the original Chinese philosophy, Chinese paper cutting is embodied in all aspects of folk customs and culture. They are in the forms of window decoration, totem door god, daily life appliances such as vat and jar flower, porcelain decorations, costumes and adornments like embroidery, hat decoration, shoe flower, etc. They are also used frequently for birthday celebration, wedding ceremony, etc. Let's first have a look at some typical traditional festivals. Chinese New Year, also known as the Spring Festival, is the biggest holiday in China. The celebrating lasts from December the 18th to January the 15th, on which the Lantern Festival falls on the lunar calendar. The saying, cleaning house on the 23rd and decorating it with paper cuts on the 28th, is about the custom that people start cleaning their houses and courtyards, including the walls and windows, on December the 23rd. On December the 28th, women would put paper cuts on windows, the wall above the hearth, the beam of the doors, etc. Recorded in Li Ji, Yue Ling. Spring Festival is the time when air pressure of the sky comes down and air pressure of earth goes up, when heaven and earth connects, and when all things germinate. These are exactly the main features of paper cutting works on Chinese New Year, which are heaven and earth, yin and yang, propagation and harvest. Examples of paper cuts for Spring Festival include 2 dragons playing with a ball, 2 phoenixes playing around a peony, a golden clock over a frog, a deer and a crane, a snake twining around a rabbit, and a lion playing with a silk ball, etc. Nowadays, urban residents still like to paste Chinese New Year paper cut letter Fu, good fortune, upside down, as Fu Dao, good fortune arrives. Actually, the upside down letter Fu was meant to be a rotating symbol for perpetual life. The Dragon Boat Festival, also called the Double Fifth Festival, falls on the 5th of the 5th lunar month. This festival is close to the summer solstice. Pestilence, as a result of the heat and dampness, is at its worst, threatening lives of human community. Therefore, most practices on this day aim to drive away the evil and virulent. People hang mugwort buns at the eaves, drink Riaga liquor, eat rice dumplings, race dragon boats, and wear scented pouches embroidered with legendary animal figures. According to the Chinese local chronicles, in the 5th lunar month, every household started hanging red ornaments and putting out cat-tailed dragon or mugwort tiger. Young girls cut out letter fu in layers for good luck, and small kids wore bright red pouch made of broomcorn, garlic, and other plants to ease the heat of the summer and keep off disease. These customs are still widely practiced today as folk festivities on the Dragon Boat Day. Besides the big and important festivals, paper cutting also plays an active role in rites and ceremonies, including birthday celebrations, wedding and memorial services. Birthdays are of great importance for Chinese people. It is customary to give chicken eggs, which are known as the red egg, for the newborn. People also paste paper cut of the tree of life in bright red color on the red eggs as good wish for the baby. When the birthday of an elderly is celebrated, besides holding a birthday party and sending gifts, the family usually decorate the house with paper cuts symbolizing good fortune and longevity for him or her. In today's folk custom, the 12 animals of earthly branches that differentiate the year of birth still hold a widespread popularity. People take it seriously about the nature of the animal for the year they were born, and often wear a jade adornment of their own animal on birthdays. Paper cuts of the 12 Chinese zodiac animals also serve as a kind of decoration and a memoir for people's birthdays. Wedding ceremony is one of the greatest ceremonies in a person's life. The bridal chamber is decorated with red paper cuts everywhere from the ceiling to the bedside. The furniture and jewelry are also decorated with double happiness paper cuts, symbolizing the future happy life of the newlyweds. Usually, the paper cuts are prepared by the female relatives from the groom's family, but in certain areas, the custom is that the bride is required to bring along some paper cuts made by herself. Typical patterns of paper cuts for wedding include mandarin ducks playing in water, phoenixes flying among peony blossoms, fish playing around lotus, lotus bearing seeds, and so on. All with people's wishes for the new couple's sweet love and early parental joy. What can also not be ignored is the funeral and the memorial service, which is believed to be the ritual to redeem the soul and deliver it to a world of immortality. Death at old age is a normal course of life, referred to as passing away or return to heaven. In order that the deceased may live an immortal afterlife happily, offerings are presented, paper cuts for the dead and the immortal were a set ritual in funerals for people alive to express grief and mourning. It can be seen that paper cutting is an art created by ordinary people to meet ordinary social need. Its social function makes it an art created and used in everyday life, rites, and ceremonies. Now, we have learned about how Chinese paper cutting is embodied in the folk customs. As a cultural carrier of the original Chinese philosophy, Chinese paper cutting also exhibits the entire nation's philosophical viewpoint and a cultural ideology, and it has great cultural values. Then how does it embody the original Chinese philosophy? Let's take a look at it. Of all folk arts, paper cutting is the most participated by common people. Characterized by distinct geographical features, paper cutting has rich historical and cultural connotations. Although it has only been 2,000 years since the invention of paper, the cultural connotations that paper cutting carries and the art forms it represents can go back all the way to the primitive society 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The cultural value it carries far exceeds its value as an art form, as it embodies values deeply rooted in Chinese philosophy, aesthetics, archaeology, history, and the study of social sciences and the humanities. The complete system of philosophy that Chinese folk paper cutting embodies was not based on the philosophy of Confucianism, Daoism, or other schools of thought. It was based on the original Chinese philosophy and art system from the prehistorical time. Some paper cut designs fully conformed to the patterns on the painted pottery from prehistorical time, so it helped bring out the meaning of the silent symbols. For example, a pair of fish with human faces on painted pottery from 6,000-year-old Yangshao culture in Banpo of Xi'an, Shanxi, was not a natural fish. It was a cultural code in prehistorical philosophy. This design of a pair of fish with human faces is still quite popular in the rural areas on the lowest plateau. The design remains among the people as a symbol of God of life and propagation, a symbol of supernatural power. Apart from the patterns of paper cuts, which undoubtedly represent the original Chinese philosophy, the other element that cannot be ignored is the color used in paper cutting. As the color system in Chinese folk art is partly based on the original Chinese philosophy, to be more specific, the view of perpetual life, there is no doubt that red is the most widely used color in Chinese paper cutting. Red is the legendary color idolized by the Chinese community. As early as 40,000 years ago, the upper cavemen spread red mineral powder alongside the dead to pray for spiritual eternity and a perpetual life. Today, red is still the symbol of life. People's worship towards the red color is rooted in the worship of nature, the sun, fire, and human blood, which is a symbol of human life. After a long night, it is the red sun rising in the east that brings everything back to life. For the Chinese, red is also the color that can dispel evil. Life-threatening ghosts and the devils are all scared of the red color. It can be seen that, as a living example of cultural heritage, paper cutting shows the continuity of Chinese culture from primitive society to present. The original Chinese philosophy, as represented in folk art, like paper cutting, can still be found in today's society and people's life. That's all for this unit, Chinese paper cutting. We've been talking about the origin, historical development, artistic features of Chinese paper cutting, and how it is embodied in folk customs, and how it embodies the original Chinese philosophy. As an artistic form, Chinese paper cutting has great artistic values. Besides, as a historical cultural heritage, it also shows great cultural values. Nowadays, the folk art of Chinese paper cutting is still actively practiced in China. It is not only surviving, but also thriving. It is now a major cultural heritage of the mankind, and its continued preservation demands more attention. Thank you for your attention.